The brutal murders of two Wollongong men, David O'Hearn and Frank Arkell, had police concerned there was a serial killer on the loose. The question was, had the offender possibly killed before?
Where do you start looking for somebody that's got common links? Do you look beyond the Wollongong area, which we did? We started to look at a lot of homosexual murders. We started to delve into ones that are unsolved as well, because you've got David and Frank. We certainly looked at maybe there's a homosexual angle there somewhere.
You've got to realise that you've got 8 fingers and 2 thumbs, and unless the full set of prints are available, never in a million years are you ever going to match those two together unless you have the 2 full sets of prints to compare.
But while the police had no fingerprints to help them discover who the offender was, they had found solid evidence at Arkell's residence that they were now chasing up.
We had found a pair of Nike tracksuit pants that were found turned inside out, so in a position as though they had been taken off and taken off in a hurry and left on the floor, and a pair of Colorado boots, those type that were very popular at that time.
The tracksuit pants were a Nike brand with a very thick stripe, and they were very much against what Frank would wear. The Colorado boots were size 9.5 and he wore a size 7, so it was obvious to us that the clothes had been discarded by the killer.
Detectives knew the killer had used weapons found at the crime scene to kill his victim, and chances were he'd also taken some of Arkell's clothing.
Up inside the main house, I remember seeing a maroon-coloured tracksuit top and a maroon-coloured bottom, and I think I saw a black top as well, and then we just couldn't find the black pants to it. So then you start to look around the house to see if you've got matching items of clothing. Does a tracksuit top fit with a tracksuit bottom? And we're able to look up into the main house itself and look through the clothing with the help of the housekeeper. We had the top, but we were missing a pair of tracksuit pants. So to us, the killer's left his clothes behind that were blood-stained and then left in a pair of Frank's tracksuit pants. If we get to an arrest stage, our hope is we're going to find another item from Frank's house, another link to the chain within the possession of the killer.
But they needed to find the killer first, and the boots were providing a good lead.
We really seized upon the opportunity that the offender had given us to have in our own possession his actual shoes. So that was a very exciting thing for a strike force to have. So the strike force has to pick themselves up again and look at what they've got left and follow those other leads.
The strongest lead was the killer's clothes found at Frank Arkell's flat. Now, 3 months after their discovery, they were paying dividends.
One of the calls was from an ex-girlfriend of a person that she said used to regularly wear a similar Nike tracksuit and similar Colorado boots, but no longer in fact wore them. The girlfriend had also told us that when she had spoken to her boyfriend about him not wearing the clothing anymore, that he became agitated. He didn't want to tell her any detail about that.
As well as being very sheepish about the location of the boots and the tracksuit pants, she'd noticed that the boyfriend had developed an interest in the murders itself and started to keep paper clippings and started to talk about it. So here we are, we've got a person that owns not just the boots, not just the tracksuit pants, owns both. And they vanished, for want of a better word, shortly after the death of Frank Arkell. So you're starting to look at something that's a very promising lead.
The woman had given us the name of her ex-boyfriend as being Mark Van Crevel.
Mark was currently unemployed, but had commuted to Sydney for work in the past.
We decided to watch his movements, and we watched them very closely and constantly from that period of time. If he was our murderer, we had to protect the community from him striking out again, but we didn't have enough to arrest him.
During the surveillance operation, our suspect was seen in the company of some of his friends, including Keith Schreiber.
Keith Schreiber was the initial suspect in the David O'Hearn murder investigation.
Coincidentally and very relevant is the fact that Keith Schreiber lived in the same street as David O'Hearn, and that Mark Van Crevel lived for good periods of time with Keith Schreiber in that house.
Police now realised when they went in search of Schreiber, the door to his flat was opened by Mark Van Crevel. As luck would have it, Van Crevel was taken to the police station at that time.
He just flew right under the radar. He was simply just an alibi witness. So as a result, a typed interview was taken from Mark Van Crevel, accounting for Keith's movements.
I told you that I intended asking you further questions about it.
As is the case with all people that are interviewed in any homicide investigation, a hard copy of the interview is made. Both the person taking part in the interview and police sign it, and the documents filed in a plastic sleeve and used for future reference in the investigation.
An idea was put forward that we should in fact fingerprint the statement that he had provided as an alibi witness to Keith Schreiber.
In order to obtain fingerprints from a piece of paper, the exhibit is placed in a liquid chemical, which is called anhydrine. This chemical reacts with the amino acids of the fingerprint that is on the paper. The fingerprint develops and becomes visible by a purple stain.
That purple stain revealed a clear set of fingerprints, and they matched the O'Hearn and Arkell murder scenes.
Finally, we've got this exciting bit of evidence that we've identified fingerprints on that document link him to both crimes.
And while there was little doubt those fingerprints were those of Mark Van Crevel's, police were not prepared to arrest him until they were absolutely sure they were his.
Effectively, you're arresting someone, you're taking away their liberty, and effectively you could put them away for jail for the rest of their life. So it is a serious game that we play, and you've got to be precise in what you do, you've got to be backed up by evidence, you've really got to be very thorough in what you do and methodical.
And so the detectives waited for the opportunity to seize the evidence they needed.
He happened to be drinking from a Coke bottle and discarded it. Our police were very quick on the spot and very resolute to think about it. Used an initiative, grabbed the Coke bottle, and we developed some fingerprints from that Coke bottle.
Within minutes, Mark Van Crevel's fingerprints were ready for comparison.
So the fingerprints found on the Coke bottle were the same that were found on the record of interview, were the same that were found at the crime scenes. They were those of Mark Van Crevel.